everyone, my name is Anjali and I hope you're doing great, and I have my holiday earrings on. Today we're going to be comparing the Glam palette from Natasha Denona against the Taupe palette from Colourpop. I've noticed monochromatic palettes. I love monochromatic looks. I love doing monochromatic looks, but I've noticed that a lot of them are similar if you already have one. And I already know what the outcome of this video is going to be, but I still wanted to do this video just in case you guys wanted to see. I don't do a lot of neutral looks, and I bought the Glam palette just because something about this really intrigued me. And then Colourpop had this palette, and there was a sale. I bought this I think last Black Friday, and just the packaging, and I love Colourpop's formula. It's just, I was looking at this the other day when I was decluttering my palettes, which I'll link down below. I decluttered my singles and palettes. This is so similar to the Glam palette. I think some of these shadows are even untouched, and I just want to get rid of one of these just because I don't do neutral looks that much anyways, and I want to compare and just know that they're almost the same thing, so I don't need both of them. So what I want to do is see if I can find all of these dupes in the Glam palette pretty much, and then swatch them out. And one thing I wanted to mention is that both of these palettes are magnetic, so you can interchange them, take them out, so they're really not serving any purpose in my collection, because if I wanted to, I could just, which is what I do, I make my own custom palettes. I move things around, and I just don't need two cool toned palettes. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say. And if you have a budget, or if you prefer one thing, I feel like this video will be helpful for you to decide if you want to get the more affordable one, Colourpop, or if you want to splurge a little bit and get the Natasha Denona one. Okay, so here are the swatches of the first two shades. The bottom one is Transition from Natasha Denona. The top one is Boa from Colourpop. The Colourpop one is just a little bit darker and more pink. But to be honest, they do the same thing. They're both transition shades, at least for my skin tone. And I do prefer the transition one just because it's a little bit, today when I used it, it was really easy for me to kind of mesh it into my brow bone, which is my biggest issue with cool tone shadows. I feel like I can't, some of my warmer shades, it kind of just blends into my skin tone because obviously I have a warmer skin tone. But this one really helps to kind of diffuse the outer edge. Yes, and I don't really like pink on my eyes, I've noticed, and I don't think I've used Boa once. I think I might have when I used this palette once when I first bought it last year. So yeah, I love that. But yeah, they do the same thing, so I definitely don't need both. And I never, besides when I'm doing a cool tone look, I never use these lighter shades in palettes. I've noticed I always just use a white. I don't know why, but let's move on. Okay, so both of the palettes do have 5 mattes. So if you're a shimmer lover, obviously Natasha has 10 shimmers. And today what I noticed is that she has one more dull color of the same tone. I can show you. So this color right here called Outer Eyelid, and the other Outer Eyelid. I hate the names of this palette. Are both the same tone. This one just has a lot more shimmer in it and dimension in it, which was very nice to build up. And you can't tell anymore because Unexpected is truly stealing the show, but it looked very pretty before. It's just, I messed it up. I wish I could show you, but yeah, I just put on the more dull, more basic shimmer first, and then I just packed on a little bit of the more dimensional one, and it really made it look super super pretty, even without Unexpected. But the second shimmer, the second matte in the Colourpop palette is called Pebble Beach, and the blend shade are both warm toned browns. The one from Colourpop is a little bit more cool toned, and the one from Natasha Denona is just a little bit more warm. But to be honest, you can make this one a little bit more cool toned by just blending a little bit of this in it. You can make this a little bit more cool tone by blending this into it. It's you can really customize the shade. And to be honest, when I put blend on, it's a little bit more cool tones. I remember I put blend on, and then I put this gold shade all over my lid, and it was a very pretty look, and it wasn't very warm. I realized, like, I was like, wow, this is a very cool tone, but it's like, it's more neutral. It's not cool tone. I would say it's a more neutral brown, and this one's obviously a lot more cool. But again, very, very similar, and I do not think you need them both, especially if you already have a lot of warm tone browns. Like, you really don't need the one from Natasha. It's like such a, you can find this color anywhere. This is like pretty much like, this can even be a shade you have as a bronzer. So if you're gonna buy, you don't need to buy this, both of the palettes. If you have one, it will suffice. The next one, the next matte in the Colourpop palette is called Python, and I don't think there is a very like direct dupe for that. So we're gonna move on to the shade called Stored, which is like the creamy formula from Colourpop. And to be honest, it's very pretty, but I have another one from So Jaded. It's called Diamond, and it looks very similar to this. It's very pretty, like sparkly topper shade, and this shade called Center Eyelid is very similar, and it's actually a lot prettier, I would say. Okay, so the shimmers, like, there's no way Colourpop's gonna win, sorry. Like, this shade is absolutely stunning, but these two shades from Miss Natasha are very similar and like more what I use. So if you're someone who loves like toppers, obviously the shade from Colourpop is stunning, but I like shimmers more, opposed to, like, look at that, it has like very nice like shift too, very pretty. But these are like, if you blend these together you'll get this. But yeah, no direct dupe, but to be honest, I have a direct dupe. I can actually, I'll give it up for you. Okay, so this is the shade Diamond from the So Jaded palette from Colourpop, and this is the shade Stored from the that's Taupe palette. They're pretty much the same thing. They're the same thing. They're both a peachy, very sparkly shade. I'm gonna hold them up for you. So this is Diamond, and this is Stored. I wish there was an easy, maybe like this. Is that helpful? Nope. Nope. They're very, 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 very similar. And to be honest, when you put them on top of a different shade, like Diamond, I used Diamond over a red shade. It just made the red shade more glittery. And that's pretty much what Stored is. I remember you just put, it's just like a glitter pretty much that you top. It's a topper. And whatever base you put it underneath, it will just reflect that. So there, and Colourpop, both of these palettes are magnetic. So if I really needed, if I really wanted a topper shade, I could just get it from the So Jaded palette. I don't need that's Taupe palette. You do not need two palettes of the same. Even if you use these shades all the time, it doesn't make sense for you to have more than one palette. It's just like they're so unbelievably similar. And even like the Natasha Denona shimmers, which are these two here, I just, yeah, they have different tones, but on the eyes, they really just blend into the same thing. I don't know. But that's just my 2 cents. Okay, the next one, I think it's going to be a very, very close dupe, is a shade Snake Eye from Miss Natasha Denona. It's like they're pretty much the same thing. They just, obviously, these shades from Natasha Denona shift a little bit. So they look different, but in the pan, and I'm sure on your eyes, they look the same. So this is a shade Snake Eye from Colourpop, and this is the shade Another Center Eyelid from Natasha Denona, and they're pretty much the same. And I'm sure if I take more of like the brow bone shade, which is like a sparkly shimmer, and put it on top of the Natasha Denona one, because like I said, she has like the same color again as a more basic matte, a basic shimmer, and then a more sparkly one to put on top. So you can really like customize it. I feel like you have more control over how much like glamour you have in your look that day. But seriously, they look very, very almost the same. I feel like on camera it looks a lot more different, but they're very similar in person. They're both pinks. It's just maybe the one from Natasha Denona one is a little bit more pink. To be honest, I feel like the Colourpop one should be more pink because they have pink mattes. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like you can do more with the Natasha Denona one, obviously, because it has a lot more shimmers and has variety in the shimmers, so you can add more shimmer, reduce more shimmer, and they just give you 5 like very basic mattes for the crease, and in the shimmer, and the shimmers where you can really change the look. You can make it more pink, more gold, more cool toned, even like something super brown. You can do it all with the Natasha Denona one. Okay, so this is cold-blooded. I kept saying cold-breeded. That's not a thing. And this is the shade Outer Eyelid from Natasha Denona. They again are very similar. They both look, see there, like it looks the same. It looks very, very similar, you guys. And I'm sure if I used this shade instead of this shade today, you guys wouldn't be able to tell. They're very, very, very similar. And again, this is like the more sparkly shade from Natasha. This is the more sparkly shade from Natasha Denona. So it shifts like the cool brown, and then this like taupey silver, and you can put it underneath the brown, under the shade I used today, the darker like cool tone gray. I'll just point to it. This shade, and it will look more taupey. You could put it under the brown, and it will look more brown. You could put it on top of the pink. It will look more pink because it's like that super shimmer. Very pretty shade. Okay, the next is Rocksteady from Colourpop and Smoke from Natasha Denona. This one is obviously a lot more cooler than this one, but again, you can really just use some of the other gray shade and make anything more cool toned, or you can use the brown shade to make anything more warm tone, vice versa. So like the mattes is not where I'm trying to find similarities, because they can literally be customized so much. But all the shimmers I've swatched, like they're so dupeable, I feel like, between both of these. And the one thing that Natasha Denona one has and the Colourpop one doesn't have is the very dark black shade. So I'm going to swatch the black and the dark brown before I swatch the shimmer in the middle. Okay, so this is the brown from Colourpop, and this is the black. The black can be built up a lot, but I'm like, it's black, so you guys don't, actually I can build that up for you. But you can make everything more cool tone in Natasha Denona with this black too, because this is a very, very cool tone black. Like, it's very, very cool tone. And like, I feel like the Colourpop one, I think it missed the mark. I feel like this should have been a very, very, very cool dark chocolate brown, just so it could fit the most amount of people. And obviously, so it's the most like outer corner is cool toned. I don't know, because isn't that what they were trying to do with this palette, to make the palette very cool toned? I don't know, but the Natasha Denona one has a very, very cool toned black, but this doesn't look weird with the brown either, because I've used it that way too with this brown I was talking about. Like, these two don't look weird together when you blend them together. Okay, this shade from Colourpop that I haven't touched yet, I don't think there's going to be a dupe for it, and to be honest, I kind of want to keep the whole palette for this color, because it's like so pretty, but I know I shouldn't. Yeah, I tried to find a dupe for it, but it's like, this one from Colourpop is a lot more green, and this is another outer eyelid shade from Natasha Denona. Okay, final thoughts. There are a lot of similarities, but I've noticed that there's not a lot of direct dupes in these two palettes. But for my purposes, I do not wear these type of shades that often, so I think I will be decoloring the Colourpop palette, even though there are some very pretty shades in here called Constructor. Like, this is a very pretty shade, and even the shimmer is very pretty. It's just that I don't use these kind of shades all the time, and if I'm going to, I really want the mask to be very blendable and the shimmers to be very, very sparkly. And to be honest, Natasha Denona is just like so unbelievably beautiful. And again, there's a gold in here and there's a brown in here that the Colourpop one doesn't have, obviously mostly just because there's 15 shades in here and 9 shades in the Colourpop one. But if I'm really going to keep one, I'd rather have the one that's all-encompassing, and I can do every single cool tone or like neutral look I want to do, because this is that palette. This is my October palette, because I feel like I do a lot of cool tone looks in here. This is my Morticia palette. I did like a very pretty Morticia Adams kind of look with this, and again, like, this is a very pretty look, and I feel like this was a very good basic base palette to put unexpected on. And I can interchange all of these with the other Natasha Denona ones, which I can do with Colourpop too. But I have like every single Natasha Denona palette, so I feel like this is a very good palette if I want like something super light and sparkly. I can interchange it. And this gold is so pretty. Let me swatch this gold for you guys. I don't know, I love this like dark bronzy gold, and it kind of shifts. And you know what's so funny? This is like one of the only shades in the palette that doesn't have any sort of shift, and it's still one of my favorites. I just love this color. I really like this color. And again, like, you can do so much more with this palette, but it also has an $87 price tag, while I think the Colourpop ones are only $14. But there was no direct dupes, so this video is kind of a flop, but that's alright. I hope you guys still enjoyed. And yeah, monochromatic palettes are very pretty, but they have to be like very unique. So I'm kind of intrigued to try some of the Colourpop, the new monochromatic ones, like the High Tide. I feel like that's a very cool like blue palette, and like I don't think I'm gonna have any other palette that has like all of those shades like I do with these two. Like, this is kind of redundant. I don't know why I bought this, because I love this palette so much. I was like, oh, I love this palette, let me buy another cool tone palette, because that makes complete sense. And again, like the Colourpop ones, I have like this big palette from Colourpop, so I just have so many colors. And again, this is another green shade from Colourpop that I would prefer to use over the one shade that I think is very pretty from the Taupe palette. So it doesn't make sense for me to keep this palette. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm very happy I'm decluttering one more palette. And subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week with a Shine by SD or Terra Moon haul. I'm very excited. I'm buying more indie shadows because I love these sparkly shades. I love these sparkly shades because I have a lot of like basic palettes, and I like to like spice them up. So subscribe for that. I'm really hoping they come very quickly because I'm very impatient. But I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye!